What's up, YouTube? It's Tone, Toone, and I'm back for another one. So today, what do we have? We have a document that I ran across on the internet, and there's a lot of truth to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run through it so you can get a little bit of an understanding about what it is that these supposed government actors actually do, who they actually are, and then maybe that'll help you understand who you actually are, right? So, right here it says up in the top that all the government offices are vacant, which they are. There's no actual Americans inside of any of these government positions, roles, whatever you want to call it. There's no actual Americans there. They're all foreign agents, contracted. And so, you want to look at the word contractors, right? It's CON for one. Then you got TR, actors. They con actors. Basically conning you. Actors that are conning you. I mean, it's crazy when you get into the etymology and you can really understand what these words are. I did another video on government and what that meant. It's mind control. Literally, by definition, the word government is mind control. You guys gotta wake the fuck up for real. Like, I don't even understand how you could see that and then just carry on like you didn't just see that. I mean, I understand that you get scared in the beginning and all that, but at some point you're gonna have to stand up. Nobody's gonna be able to claim your crown for you, and if you don't want it, somebody else will take it. I guarantee you that. Guarantee you that. So yeah. So it says, yes, you read that correctly. It is true, and is now on the court record, black ink on white paper. Please read on. A lot of us have been exposing the crime of the United States corporation for many years, but until recently, no one has had the proof that all government offices are vacant. No one is home. Those supposed government agencies and offices are being occupied by private con actors and are not being occupied by a legitimate government body. That's a fact. This is and you know that because I already showed you the DUNS numbers of all the corporations that pretend to be actual government organizations, right? You can't be a government organization and be registered with anything, because when you register, you essentially hand over all of that power to whatever agency that you're registering it with, and you're just basically a mere user or employee thereof. Once you register something, know that. So if you see a registered anything, they're not who they say they are. So this is the equivalent to the ice cream man knocking on your door and extorting taxes from you. He has no lawful authority to do anything other than drive that ice cream truck. As soon as he hops out of that ice cream truck, he's nobody. Really, there's nobody inside the ice cream truck either, but he thinks he is. But he's at least he's selling ice cream. So anyway, either way, look at it like that. And he's not a government official. He's an ice cream man, right? And that's how that works. So your supposed government officials are nothing more than ice cream men and women who are fraudulently extorting money from you and your family, throwing you in prison, taxing you to death, stealing your children, and imposing their will on you and enforcing their own internal statutory rules and codes upon you and your family. Now, something else you got to know is that when you see anything that makes reference to codes or statutes, that is all their own policies, which is what it is. And if you look at the word police, it's policy. The policy enforcers. Policies do not apply to an actual American. They don't. They only apply to the corporations that made them and the employees thereof. Those are the only people that are going to be bound by those. So for people that are employed by those particular agencies making the codes and statutes, those are laws for them, but they're not laws for us. And so they'll try to trick you with their little wordplay to try to make you believe that that shit somehow actually freaking applies to you when it doesn't. It really doesn't. And again, I don't know if I have to mention that, these people are wearing costumes essentially. And so you know that they're not government because, a king don't have to have his crown on to be the king. He's still the king regardless inside of his house. You don't have to wear a costume. These people are pretending and acting to be something that they're not. That's the whole reason why they go overboard with all that, with the badge and the costume and all that. It's just not necessary because if you were what you were, then you wouldn't have to tell anybody now, would you? So moving on. Well, that was a long rant, huh? So moving on, we got trying to keep track of the time here. So yes, you read that correctly. It is true, and is now on the court record. Black ink on white paper. Damn, so I just read that already. Alright, so what it says here. So what they have done is this. These people have switched places with the average American citizen. They're enforcing their own administrative codes that are only meant for them. Upon regular citizens who are not being paid by the corporation, the supposed elected officials have hoodwinked the country into an employment position without pay. They themselves are taking public money to occupy government seats, positions, and agencies when they are nothing more than mere private contractors. That is a felony. So they are treating us as if we are paid government employees, enforcing their own internal rules, regulations, and codes and statutes on the average citizen, as well as conveniently forgetting to send us our weekly, monthly government employment check. So I believe that there's compensation due for all the codes that have been forced on people that have not been compensated. So there's definitely compensation due. And there's a bunch of ways you can go about getting your money for that. So I've been preaching this for the last year plus with no avail on this forum. Perhaps now people will begin to listen and take action. So we're going to move on to the next. What we got here? So there are a few shows you need to listen to, and here are some bullet points on these shows. All bar attorneys are prohibited from representing John Q. Public, can only represent government officials and employees within their own agencies because they're PMAs, they're private membership associations, so they can only really represent anybody that's a member of their organization. So don't ask me how they're getting around that and trying to represent you. They're basically saying that you work for them. And that's what the bar charter says also. So I'm going to go ahead and imagine that everybody that's ever been represented by any of these lawyers, by default, those cases need to be overturned because, I mean, there was criminal acts throughout the whole case anyway, which obviously you're represented by somebody who was not qualified. So that's not proper representation. So I go ahead and say that everybody who's ever been found guilty or anything and or represented or dealt with one of these bar members pretending to be your actual lawyer need to be compensated and probably overturn all of your charges, right? That shit is all a crime, all of that. So any judge that prohibits you from representing yourself or hiring a defense other than the bar attorney are in fact committing a felony on the bench in violation of the Taft-Hartley Act, running on closed union shop, and the Smith Act, overthrow of constitutional form of government. As well as the fact that if any of these people have ever been a bar member and sat on the bench to hear your case, that needs to get overturned as well. It's basically a janitor sitting there telling you what your fate's going to be, right? You can't be a bar member and sit and listen to any case. Anytime a bar attorney represents someone in a case against you, you can now claim that the person is incompetent, a ward of the state with no standing to sue. Any and all tax collectors, police officers, sheriff's department, DOT, tag agencies, bar attorneys, judges, highway patrol, supposed elected officials are nothing more than private contractors who can now be brought up on fraud charges for impersonating a public official while receiving federal funding. That's impersonation of an officer right there. So these are all charges right here racking up. I could probably put together 1,000 charges if you want to be real. Not bad for a high school dropout, huh? So, what do we got? Any and all home, vehicle, credit card loans are supposed to be discharged to the Treasury window in compliance with the 1933 bankruptcy laws. These scumbags are double dipping and never discharging the debt like they are supposed to. They are embezzling the funds and pocketing it for themselves. Every person sitting in prison today was railroaded by a bar attorney whose first allegiance is to the state and to the crown, because you're registered. That's Regis. Regis has to do with royalty, crowns, etc. And as a matter of fact, that's where they're registered, the bar attorneys. And you know what that stands for? British Accreditation Registry. I don't understand what British law has anything to do with America, but this is how they're slipping it, like slipping in past everybody's awareness, is by just passing acronyms off. And nobody, you talk to people in the course that don't even know what the bar stands for. Come on, be real. So orders from administrative courts prove that the four-time an agency of the state is not an agency under the state. Elected officials are claiming 11th Amendment sovereignty when it's actually you and I that hold the 11th Amendment sovereignty. They are getting paid by the corporation. You and I are not. We're actually the ones paying for them to do what they're doing. So you're paying for your own enslavement, if you will, right? And not even knowing it. So they have admitted to the crime of no one actually holding a public office. They're filling corporate seats and defrauding the public. Political subdivisions are not getting their 40% funding from the feds like they are supposed to get. They're getting it from you. They're getting it from you. Straight up. These people are robbing you every chance that they get. So, criminals in three-piece suits. Or they wear a black dress. These judges have admitted, black ink on white paper, that all the state offices are empty. Now we have administrative paperwork ruling these public offices aren't part of the state agencies. Attorney generals may not practice law, cannot represent the people who are not public officials. If the state is a third-party interloper in your marriage license, your vehicle title, your state registration, etc., they are liable for a third of the cost to manage the daily activities of that contract. If the state demands that you have a driver's license and tag your vehicle because it is registered with the state, then as the owner of the vehicle, the state is required to pay for the vehicle, the tags, licensing, fuel, tires, oil, etc. They are also to pay you a salary for driving the state-owned vehicle. It says so in the Highway Safety Act, United States Code, CFR rules and regulations. We now have the court orders that go back and nullifies any and all IRS and tax cases, foreclosures, credit card debt cases, or actions. These people never had the lawful right to demand anything from you. They're corporate actors, acting governor, acting mayor, acting president. They're fucking actors. Not a legitimate government body. Never have been. Never have been. Never have been. So we move on. Only the Secretary of Transportation. Oh, this basically is running back through everything I just read here. Yeah, if you are not being paid for your time, you are not required to have one of their CDL or CMV licenses. It's prohibited. It's only for commercial use, and it's a federal thing. Your license is valid everywhere in freaking America. Why is that? Because it's a federal thing. The license is for interstate commerce. That's what a driver's license is for. You don't need one if you're conducting business within a state. You don't need a license. You don't gotta have your car registered or none of that at all. You don't gotta have a license plate on it or nothing. That's only for commercial vehicles and or interstate commerce. Only reason why you would ever need one. But are they gonna tell you that? No. They're gonna pull you over like they did to me. You know what? And let's not even get into that, because that's still an ongoing case that I got some surprises for these people. So what else do we got? So now we have a major labor dispute on our hands. U.S. corporations running a slave racket against American citizens without pay. Without pay. So now that's going to end up in the Department of Labor. It's going to end up in the Department of Labor. You can go ahead and file a complaint to them for all the codes and statutes that they've been pushing on you without compensating you at all. Right? United States Code, USC, and titles number 1 through 50 are void, have never been passed by Congress, all have been repealed. As I've been saying for a very long time on this forum, if you are not getting a weekly or monthly paycheck from the so-called federal government, aka United States, or one of its subsidiary corporations such as the state of, then their statutory rules, not laws, codes, and regulations do not apply to you. Period. Really that simple. And if I'm lying, call me out. By all means, call me out. Please do. Please do. As I've been saying for a very long time. Oh, so here we go. So there's much more information packed into these last 6 calls. I can't even begin to share it in this post. If you want your freedom, if you want to know with 100% surety that the foreign corporation known as the United States has zero authority over you unless you are receiving a weekly paycheck from them, take the time to listen, and then go ahead and give their information here to whatever their blog was. So you can go ahead and check that out if you're interested. And they're 100% correct about you not being liable for anything, even including the funds. Look, if you have the social and you were born here in America, everything is already prepaid. You don't have to pay for anything, right? You don't. And so if you want, so I actually offer a course that's in private banking if anybody's interested.